one and only, Mr. Bob Proctor. A number of years ago, on a Sunday morning, Linda and I got up in Atlanta and went to church. We went to a church we had never been to before. There were a couple standing just inside the front door, and I put my hand out and I said to the man, "Good morning, I'm Bob Proctor." He says, "I'm very pleased to meet you." He says, "I'm John Proctor." He said, "Really?" He said, "Really?" I said, "I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Linda." He said, "I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Linda." That was a number of years ago. Last Thursday, I was doing a seminar in Atlanta, and Dr. John Proctor and his wife, Linda, were in the audience. We have seen each other a number of times over the years. He's from Cartersville, Georgia. And he gave me a little book. It was on visions. An excellent little book, by the way. And inside the front cover, he wrote, "To my good friend, Bob Proctor, from John Proctor. No relation, but same father." I will treasure that little book for a number of reasons, and that's one of them. 2 or 3 weeks after the Team Diamond event in Denver, I received a box by FedEx. I believe it was FedEx. It was one of the couriers. And it would be reasonably good size. And I opened it up, and it was full of books and a couple of tapes from Dave and Valerie Johnson. They have something in common with me. We both love the same author, Sterling Sill. I have been studying his material for many years. And they sent me some well-worn books by Sterling Sill that I did not have. And they also, in this package, were 2 tapes, and it was Mind and Music. Here we're talking about Mind Money Connection. This was Mind Music by Michael Bellum. And if you're not familiar with Michael Bellum, your record collection is incomplete. It is excellent material. And I was listening to it, and Michael Bellum has a doctorate's degree in music. And he's mixed music with storytelling and done an excellent job at that. And he tells a story about when he was a little boy in school. And he had a teacher who was an extraordinary teacher. He said she made everyone aware of their uniqueness. And she made everyone in the class aware of it as well. And he said she even bought materials for us to learn with that the school system did not provide. He said, as I grew up, I realized that's what she did with almost all of her income. And he said, now, when I was a little boy, around 12, I had a very high-pitched voice. Because I wasn't a soprano, I was an ultra soprano. Now, I said, that's not a very nice thing for a little 12-year-old boy to have. And I believe her name was Wanda Johnson. He said, she talked to the class about my voice. one day when I wasn't there. And she told them how fortunate they were to have Michael in their school and to have him in the class. She says, it's really special. She said, do you realize very, very few boys have a voice like Michael? And she brought a record to the school of the Vienna Boys Choir, and she played it for them, and she said, these little boys are special. Yet she says, to think that we have one in our class. Some school districts don't even have a boy like Michael. Well, you know, she knew something that some of us never learned. There is something unique about each one of us. And then, of course, there's something unique that we all share. We do all have the same Father. We all come through the same genetic strain. Now, if we can grasp that, you're going to realize that Royal Diamond, relative to what we're capable of, is a kid's game. And you will patiently do the things you have to do to move ahead. And you can have all the things you want. The most erudite scientist alive will not even guess at what you and I are capable of doing. These are people much wiser than ourselves. Today, I want to attempt to run through something that I've come to the conclusion most people never learn. They never learn how to make this mind-money connection. And they don't learn for many reasons. Some of them don't even try. And if the thought enters their mind, they're riddled with guilt. And they're criticized by sometimes even their loved ones. But if you don't make the mind-money connection, you're never going to do what you're capable of doing. Because without money, the good that you can do is confine your own physical presence. Now, it is a mental thing. It really is. It manifests on the physical plane, but it's really a mental thing. We've got to raise our level of consciousness. We've got to quit playing by the old rules. I think Marty Jeffrey coined it, I believe it was him, where he said, this marketing plan has been ushered in to aid the new economy. And of course it has. He's right. Hit it right on the nose. And you have seen many wise people up here, and you've met them out there. And you run into them every day that recognize that, but you run into more who do not recognize it. And whenever we're hit with a new idea, unfortunately, we have a tendency to ridicule or criticize the idea. What we should do is stop and think. It's the highest function that we're capable of. Now, as you come inside the front cover of this little book, there's a place for you to put your name and date. Today is the special day for Mike DiMuccio, because September the 27th was the day he carried on his gold card. He reached it early, of course. He did it on the 26th. We usually give ourselves more time than is required. But put your name and the date there, because today, for many of you, is going to be a life-changing experience. You'll never be the same again. I can go back to the day. It was on October the 21st, 1961. Like that, my whole life changed. And it's never been the same since. I've had many changes since then. What we're going to do today, I'm not going to talk about the product, although I could talk about the product. I heard a doctor say he didn't know how it works. I know exactly how it works. I know exactly how it works. Now, apparently the American Medical Association would reprimand me for telling you. So I'm not going to tell you how the product works. I'm just going to tell you how the body works. The body is a molecular structure. It's a mass of molecules in a very high speed of vibration. And God works in a very exact way. And one of the ways is the law of vibration. Vibration is the law of the universe. Everything vibrates, nothing rests. Vibration on a conscious level is called feeling. And when the body is not in harmonious vibration with the law of vibration, you experience a feeling of pain. Now, if you should find something that can alter the vibratory rate of the body and put it back in harmony with God's laws, like that, the pain's gone. But I don't want to elaborate on that because the American Medical Association might not like it. All right. Let's understand, if we want to win, we want to go on this little journey of the mind. And as I point out here, it's a very personal journey because it's different for every one of us. I was talking to William Todd earlier this morning. We were talking about being stuck, and I was pointing out that we're all stuck. I did a lot of work with Craig Proctor, no relation, same father, who is the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world with RE/MAX Real Estate Company. He was #2 for years. He was stuck. And he came and knocked on my one door one day and he said, "Can you help me?" I said, "I don't know." "What do you want?" He said, "I want to be #1. I said, "Yeah, I can help you." See, a lot of people think that's not a bad place to be stuck, earning $1 million a year in commissions. But there isn't any good place to be stuck. I worked with Craig for a year. He's #1 in the world. You see? But he still doesn't understand who his father is. Now, he thinks Larry's his father. All right. Now, let's take a look here. We're going to cover a number of subjects: responsibility, paradigms, goals, money, attitude, persistence, and decision. Now, Al has been very generous, and he told me, he said, "You can go until you're finished." He said, "It takes till 12, quarter after," and I want to thank him for that. But I've got another commitment where I've got to do a radio show at 12:15 on the phone, so I know that I'm not going to be here at 12:15. Now, as we go through this today, I want you to forget Nican, and I want you to forget all your troubles. Come on, get happy, I think the lyrics say, I'm into songs. I was talking to somebody yesterday in the hotel, and they said, "We're going to come and find out what the secret is success when you speak." And I said, "There is no secret." Now, there's some of you who will remember the song, "There is no secret what God can do. What he's done for others, he'll do for you." That was a very popular song some time ago. And there are no secrets, but what we want to do is we want to realize that is the secret, that there isn't any secrets, but there's a lot of information we can gather, and the only way we can gather is to study. We have not been programmed to study as a mass. Now, I have found that you'll study when you hook it into something you want. If you want something, studying is going to give it to you, and you enjoy it, then you'll study. So I'm going to encourage you to study these subjects. Now, I'm giving you a super condensed version of them here. As a matter of fact, it took me a long time to make this little book. If it had been 150 pages, I probably would have done it in half the time. I remember one time years ago, oh gosh, this would be 20 years ago, IBM hired me to go and speak at a conference. They called it an idea conference, and it was quite a good idea that they had. They brought in half prospects, half clients. They mixed them all together. Not a bad idea. They had their clients selling their prospects. But at any rate, I had, I think, maybe 45 minutes on their program, and they kept phoning me and cutting it back. When they got it down to 18 minutes, I doubled my fee. The guy said, what? Has you any idea how difficult it is to prepare a 45-minute talk for 18 minutes? So it'll take me a lot longer to do it. Well, I've tried to condense this into parts. And the first part is on responsibility. Now, I'm going to suggest that if you use this material, or just pay attention to it, that you will end up following this advice. You're going to be alert, you're going to be expectant, and expectation invokes the law of attraction. It's a mindset. This whole universe operates by law. We talk about law of vibration. You can only attract into your life what vibrates in harmony with you. Expectation dictates what we attract into our life. Most people do not expect the good that they desire. They don't expect it because they don't understand who they are, what makes them tick. Now, we have, many of us, a bit of a problem. We are not as responsible as we should be. Now, let me explain that. Responsibility is literally the key to freedom. No question about it. It is the key to freedom. Now, if you take a look here in the book, if you can follow part of it with me, we say, the men and women for whom you probably have the greatest respect are the ones who have accepted responsibility for every aspect of their life. Now, you could sit there and say, well, I know that. And I can tell you I know that. Well, if I know that, why is it that I say to Linda, what did you put that there for after I spill it? Why do I do that? Because you see, on a real deep level, I still play the blame game. And I've been studying this daily for close to 40 years. This runs very deep. It's in our genes. It's genetic. It dates back generations. The second we catch ourselves doing that, stop it. We're responsible for our results. Now, we say these people decide how much money they'll earn, and if they require more money to provide the things they want to live the way they choose, then they earn more money. They'll not permit another person's comments to upset them emotionally. If you say something that's offensive to me, I may let it upset me, but just very briefly. And then, boom, I'll change just like that, I'll change my vibration. God gave me a brain. I'm not a brain, but I have a brain. And the brain that I have is the switching station that controls the vibration I'm in. And if you say something and I feel bad, I know I'm not using my God-given tools. And so I'll start and I'll just reject it. If you think I'm not nice and you say that, I'll realize that you've obviously made an error. Why not? You want to get to the point where you can wake up and kiss yourself. There's something very special about you. I'm not talking about an ego trip. I'm talking about a healthy conscious awareness. So we want to look at that. We have here that the people that take on responsibility, they have exciting, stimulating social lives. They associate with other like-minded individuals. A high percentage of our population view these people as living charmed lives. Roger Boger just glanced at this yesterday and he said, geez, that's so true, isn't it? Then he said, but our lives are charmed, aren't they? And I said, yeah, they are. You will rarely hear or see these people attempting to duck the responsibility for unfavorable results by blaming someone else. If we're not getting the results we want, the person we should be having a consultation with is always available. Now, what we're down to now is we're taking a look at what we've got. Come down a little further. I quote Steve Bow here. where he said, God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we could ever hope to use in our lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of this talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. Let's set up a phenomenal vibration here in this auditorium. Let's all repeat that together. Come on, I want every one of you to say it with me. God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we could ever use in our lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of this talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. Yeah, you see, if you commit to this, your whole life changes. This is what I committed to on the 21st of October, 1961. I was 26. I was unhappy, sick, and broke. 1 year later, I had gone from earning $4,000 a year to earning $175,000 a year. I took it over $1 million. I got into a very healthy body, and I become pretty happy. I'm 63, going on 64. I got more energy than most people, 23, going on 24. Do you know why? I understand where the energy is. The energy is omnipresent, and you don't get it, you release it. You open the valves and let it flow. You've got a responsibility to yourself to do that. You see? Now think. You are responsible for all of the results in your life. It's so easy, and we do it unconsciously. We let it go. We've got to take. We say you're responsible for your happiness. There's absolute laws governing happiness. You're responsible for your health. Ask any of these good doctors. And I think we've got to applaud those doctors. Applaud them. Come on. Yeah. I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I'm going to talk about that more in a few minutes, but it takes guts to do what they've done. And some of you don't really understand the depth of that, but they do. You see? Well, they'll tell you that you and I have an ingenious system built within us to keep our body in excellent working order. The only drugs that are outlawed are the ones that parents don't take. We've got to wake up. Now, you have an ingenious system built within you. Got to remember that. You're responsible for your wealth. There's an exact science which governs the earning of money. This company understands that science. You are a participant in it. Yet if you're stuck, you just don't understand it. So all you have to do is gain an understanding. How do you gain an understanding? You study. It's no trick. It's simple. Waddles wrote that book, The Science of Getting Rich, in 1903. Lloyd Conant gave it to me in 1969. I have never stopped studying it. There's an exact earning money is simple. It's probably one of the easiest things I've ever learned to do. I can just sit down like that. When I need money, I just earn it. It is. You go ask Linda. She looks after it all. I just give it all to her. That's one of the rules. You see? I asked her one time, I said, why is that one of the rules? She said, because I said. I said, well, where'd you get the right to say that? She said, that's another one of the rules. You see? There's a lot of you people play by those rules. Looking after money's a dull game anyway. I think it was the Ziegfeld. He said, people that count are dull people. It's true. There's an infinite source. Why worry about it? Right? But whenever she wants something, she just tells me, I say, how much you want? And I'll go and get it. Doesn't matter what it is. She always gets it. Right? Now, let's take a look here. You're responsible for your feelings. You're responsible for your results. You're responsible for everything. Now, the exception, of course, now this is key. We're on page 3. The exception, of course, is when you choose to take on the responsibility for raising children. We have seen some babies here. Those babies are like fresh clay. You're molding their little minds right now. We're responsible for those children. It's an awesome responsibility. And many people don't understand. Do you know that you can teach a baby to read before it can talk? Do you know these little babies that we're seeing around here? You can teach them all the master painters of the world. And when they can talk at around 2, you give them a book on the CAT scan, they'll read it. Oh, they will. You can take them to the art gallery. They'll say, that's a Van Gogh, that's a Monet. They know all that. We're working with something. We're working with nothing but pure wisdom. And we're good, did that, boop, boop, yeah. And then they get older, good, bad, you know. Well, you know why? The problem's here. You're responsible for the well-being and the development of those children until they reach the age of maturity. Now, I'm not quite sure what that age is. But that's the time the responsibility switches. Understand this. You're either responsible for or to. One or the other. Right? Now, I want you to think about that. Because there's an enormous difference. And you see, at a certain point, when the people that were raising us should have made the transition, in most cases they didn't do it. They wanted to protect us, so they kept responsibility for us. Do you know that there's all kinds of parents still feel responsible and their kids are 49? Well, it's true. They put the kid in a cage and themselves in an asylum. It won't work. You see, when you take on responsibility for someone else at that age, they start to develop the attitude that they're not responsible for what's happening. And then all kinds of dumb games are played. I'd get in trouble, and my mother would say, well, why are you playing with those kids? Other kids were the cause of my problems. We've got to make that shift. They didn't come from us. They come through us. They are not ours. It's not a possession any more than your spouse is a possession. Let's understand the rules. Because if you get that mixed up, you're going to have guilt and resentment, and you'll be in heavy trouble. When you permit others to take on your responsibilities, you become dependent upon them. Some of you have taken on responsibility for your distributors. Dave Rolfe put it very well here. You're responsible to bring them into the business. You're responsible to explain the business to them. You're responsible to them, not for them. If they choose to lose, that's their right. They have the God-given right to be as wrong as they want, as long as they're not hurting anybody else. You're responsible to others and for yourself. Responsibility is the only way to freedom. Churchill put it very well. He said, responsibility is the price of greatness. Let's repeat this affirmation at the bottom of the page. This is something all I want to do is just prime your pump. I want you to study this because I've studied it. I know it's so important. I'm still studying it after close to 40 years. I don't know as we ever get it all the way. Let's repeat this affirmation together. I am responsible for my life, for my feelings, for my personal growth, and for every result I get. I was talking to a lady who is a distributor. She is a brilliant lady. She is very well educated, quite aware. And I said, well, I'll see you in New Jersey. Oh, she says, I'm not coming. I said, what? I said, I thought you want to be a silver. Well, she says, I've already been to a couple of them. They're all the same. Well, I said, of course. I said, repetition's the first law of learning. As you're going to hear those diamonds saying the same thing over and over and over again. They just say it a little different. But it's the same thing. They're saying, just do what we do. Well, she said, I'm trying to get somebody to silver. I said, well, that'd be a good place to do it. Didn't get the idea. And all her studying, she hasn't learned. If you want to win, Follow the winners. Did you hear Linda yesterday? She said that was one lesson she learned. If you want to win, follow the winners. And she's followed them, believe me. She's gone to great expense to follow them. No, she has. And it was a good investment. It was an investment. Go ask her, was it worth it? She'll say, oh, yes. Oh, yes. I didn't particularly like to see her going away down to Hilton Head and over to Japan and to Portland, but I knew that the advice she was getting was the right advice. She came back and she said, Alan Reed wanted me to put 18, 20 people together and take them to Portland. She said, where am I going to find them? And I said, well, I don't know. There's about 250 million people in North America. You shouldn't have too much difficulty. You know? Let's flip over to page 4, paradigms. Now, you know people, everybody here, there's some places that I say this and they don't know people, but you know people who have gone from earning $30,000 and $40,000 a year to $40,000 and $50,000 a month. Again, we could expand on that. You know people that have gone from earning $100,000 a year to $100,000 a month. In fact, you have heard people who have gone from earning $250,000 a year to $250,000 a month. And it doesn't take any more energy. See, the energy that flows in, you can make anything you want out of it. You can make anything you want. It's your choice. You've been given the ability to choose. That's where Moses said, today I give you both a blessing and a curse. Some people make wrong choices. They're thinking, oh, we're not going to have enough money. Oh, she's going to get pregnant. Oh, the car's going to break down. I just know it. That's what happens. I just don't know how we're going to pay this credit card off. Give me lack and limitation. You got it. Listen, paradigms control you. They control every aspect of your personality, but free will is given dominion over everything. Your paradigm is your genetic nature. It's what's built into the genes. That's why you look like your relatives. That's why you have these little idiosyncrasies. I tell about programming. Some of you have heard me about Linda was raised in southern Alabama. It's called Pensacola. Probably half the audience understood that. Now, the Canadians are, what do you say? All right. I was raised in northern Ontario, in Owen Sound. You know? You need help. All right. Now, one day around 20 years ago, we had moved from Atlanta to Toronto, and we're out shopping, and my responsibility is pushing the cart. And don't say too much, just push the cart. So at any rate, I did speak out of turn, and I said, you know what I'd like? I'd like a good feed of turnip. I remember Grandma used to make them. She'd mash them in hot butter and melting butter and pepper on them, and I could make a meal out of turnip. And she's okay. So we get over to the produce, and I pick one up. She's, what are you going to do with that? Well, I said I was going to eat it. Well, she said, I'm not eating that. Oh, I said, why not? Well, she said, we feed that to the pigs. Well, so what do you eat? Well, she says, that's the root of the turnip. We eat the green. I said, we feed that to the pigs. All this time, we could have been eating the whole turnip. But you know what's strange? Even although consciously we know that, she still won't eat the root, and I still won't eat the green. That's paradigms. Paradigm is the way we're conditioned to be. We're conditioned by our environment to a large degree. We're conditioned by the people who teach us. You saw a group of medical people on this stage last night, and I'm going to tell you, every one of them has made a major paradigm shift. That's right. I was telling Al this morning, I said, that is the most impressive thing I have ever seen in one of your meetings. Roger did a great job, so did all the doctors. And that should be a part of every Team Diamond event, is have a panel. Right? Now, I went back to my aunt and I said, what'd you think of that? She said, that was impressive. Now, I heard somebody else say something after. In fact, I think it might have been one of the doctors. I'm going to ask all the nurses and all the massage therapists that are in the audience, all the health care givers, to stand up. Not the doctors, just the nurses and the health care givers. Come on, get up. Okay? Now, stay up, stay up. Now, let's get all the doctors to join them. Come on, doctors, stand up now. Look at that. We're programmed. Our programming controls our perception of our world. Our perception is our reality. It can be as wrong as you want to make it, but it's in control. Your paradigm controls what's logical to you. When I sat in a fire hall at $4,000 a year, it was totally illogical for me to think I could earn $11,000, because that's what the chief was earning, and I knew I wasn't a good fireman. I didn't like it. If somebody had told me you could go out and earn $1 million a year, I would have known that they weren't being realistic. I knew that it was illogic to me, but possibly not to them. Don't go by your logic. Go by someone with a higher level of conscious awareness. That's what these events are about. That's what the diamonds are about. You've got to make these events the top priority if you're going to be in this business. No, really you do. Education has to come first. There's no change in results outside until there's a change inside. There's involution before there's evolution. This isn't my decision. This is God's way of operating. This is the universe's way of operating. And if you don't understand that, you're stuck. You don't know enough. I don't know enough. We've got to learn more. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's really important. We have been programmed to live through our senses, therefore we're grounded. And we go by what we hear, see, smell, taste, touch. That's why the doctor will put the x-ray in front of you. Say, there's the problem, audio, video. You get it? What they're showing you is the manifestation of what's been going on in here in the past, and if you want it to change, you got to change the image. If you want to change the image, you better understand how the mind operates. Anyone can learn it. I've taught it to little children. I've seen children go from an A or a C and D to an A and B in a heartbeat. I've watched people that were that close to death's door with cancer, like that, they're out of bed. I sat with a woman down in Austin, Texas one time, Mariana Rollins. A week later, she was in the seminar. Her husband had been taken out because she was in a coma. They didn't expect her to live for the day. Well, it happened fast. It's according to your faith. How fast you want it to happen. Now, if you think it's going to be way down the road, it'll be way down the road. And if you keep it there, it'll always be way down the road. But understand, as we understand life now, there's an end to that road. There's no end to life. Your life didn't begin when you were born. It's not going to end when you die. The only two sources of reference you've got is science and theology to understand yourself. And both of these areas clearly indicate nothing's created or destroyed. If nothing's created or destroyed, that only postulates one theory of life. Even a body in a coffin's living. If it wasn't living, how would it ever change to dust? It's moving. Everything vibrates. Person's just moved out of it. What did Joel Barker say? He said, to ignore the power of paradigms to influence your judgment is to put yourself at significant risk when exploring the future. To be able to shape your future, you have to be ready and able to change your paradigm. Now, do you know the old rules, the grounded rules, are competition? You'll hear people say, this is healthy. There isn't any such thing as healthy competition. That's a bunch of junk. But people have been saying it for so long with such authority that we believe them. That's how Hitler come to power. He said things in his persuasive manner and an eloquent way. He was a great speech maker. Told the people to burn the books. They said, what? Pretty soon, they're burning the books. Do you know there's people alive today that burn the people they still think they were right? It was sunk so deep in their psyche. That didn't make it right. Everybody believing the lies. The truth doesn't make it the truth. Competition is not a good thing. Creation is what it's all about. You can't be competitive and creative at the same time. Now, if you're going to win in this business, you better not be too concerned about who you're trying to help. If you're not prepared to help your upline and your crossline, I'm of the opinion it isn't going to matter what you do with your downline, because you are going to abrupt the growth of your business. You're going to abort it.